congratulations on this film. I've had a chance to sit down and watch it, and it is the absolutely perfect Halloween film, so congratulations.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
So tell us a little bit about your journey with this film. How did this first start out for you?
In your typical actor auditions for a role kind of way, except this, we shot this back in 2020, and we were scheduled to shoot right at the peak of COVID. So the film was shut down, and then it was, I think, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months later that we were able to get permission from Savannah, from the city of Savannah, to go back into production. So it was go, 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 and then wait, shoot. So it was exciting to finally get back to it.
And how else did the COVID restrictions change the shooting? Because I know that there's been a lot of people who have told me that some of the restrictions in America and the UK meant that they had to stay on set the entire time they were filming and things like that. What were some of the restrictions that you then had to work with?
We had to work in a bubble, and we had to live in a bubble. So we had really strict rules to go to set, go back to your room, go to set, go back to your room, and for a 24-day shoot, we weren't allowed to go anywhere. We couldn't go to the market. We couldn't do anything. So it was so strange living in that bubble, because shooting, sometimes you go out with your castmates after, sometimes you go out with crew, you're on location, so you want to explore the city. We didn't have any of those options. We were homebound and set bound.
So, in a way, did that also make you closer with your cast and crew as well? Like, were there advantages of that, or was it just very, very tough to have to go through that?
Having never experienced a pandemic, and definitely not shooting something during a pandemic, you relied so much on your cast and crew for support, for entertainment, for time to decompress. So, luckily, we all got along so well. The entire cast, the entire crew, which is so rare, and still to this day, it's the only production I've ever been on where I got along with every single person. And when you're living in a bubble, they're the only people that you can talk to. So if you really like them, it's great. And we all got along like splendidly.
Yeah.
And we're all still close. We all still text each other, call each other, visit each other. So that connection continues.
We had the same thing here happen in Australia with our football players. They had to live in the same hotels and resorts together for the entire time, for almost 2 years, because that's how long it lasted here. And they said, we've never seen so many players at the end of the year asking to get traded out of teams and stuff like that. Some guys loved it, and others were like, get me out of here. I need to go with some new mates.
Well, I don't know that I would have lasted 2 years.
Yeah.
Even though I loved everyone so much, I think that I would have. 24 days was good.
Yeah. Now,
just the right amount of time to be stuck with the same 30 plus people.
Yeah. Now, I know you're a huge horror fan, so what was your first thoughts when you sat down and read the script for this film?
I nerded out because I really am a horror fanatic. I wake up early sometimes just to watch a horror movie before I start my day, because I'm like, I need something to get going. What's on? So whenever I get a horror script, I get really excited, because I'm like, if I can be the one to scare somebody, it's awesome. And I love the script, and I love haunted house movies. And, even though I didn't get to play anything scary with, like, blood and guts coming out of me, sorry if that's a spoiler, but I have no intestines coming out or brain exploding, which is still a goal of mine in my career.
Yeah.
Is to have some appendage fly off in some kind of horror movie. But I was so excited, and, just having the opportunity to scare people.
Yeah.
It's damn.
What was it about your character that attracted you to the part? Was there something where you just went, I need to play this character?
Hmm. She's tormented, and without giving away too much, she's just this. She may suffer from depression. She's dealing with all these things. She had layers to her that I was like, oh, this is something cool to explore, because it's not just a scream queen. She's not just someone who's going to see something and get scared. She's always fighting the strange, like everything strange that happens. She's trying to justify it and move on with her life and act normal. And that added something for me, and kind of, I was like, oh, it's not just a one-dimensional character. I get to make her relatable in some ways, and yeah, I mean, it's like, not, you can't play just a crazy character, you can't play just a scared character. She's just a mother who's trying to fight her own demons and all these other crazy, this other crazy phenomenon that's happening, and really just trying to keep calm and not let it destroy her. And it's that constant battle that's fun to play with.
Yeah, there is so much going on there for her. How do you approach that character? Do you go away and do a little bit of research into how she might be feeling or what she might be going through, or do you just try to imagine that you're there in that position?
I mean, it's kind of a mixed bag of everything. It's, I don't think I did too much research into depression or how people have reacted to, strange things happening around them. I just get really quiet and get really focused on this, like, what's happening in the scene, and where am I at the beginning of the scene, where am I at the end. I had a whole thing where I had all these different markers in my book, like these little tabs, and every color was a different emotion or a different feeling, and every scene would have different colors on it, and I would try to blend the colors, so I had like this visual reminder of emotionally where I was at. But on the day when you're doing the scene, it was just, I took a minute to get really quiet and kind of just be in that space and just experience it as it happened, and let certain things just happen. And I never try to over-prepare, I guess.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned before that you love haunted house movies, but I did a little bit of research and found out that where you guys actually filmed this film has a little bit of an interesting supernatural background as well. What was that like, filming in a location that has that supernatural background to it?
It was awesomely terrifying. The director wrote the film based on his experiences in the house and his family's experiences in the house when they were growing up. So a lot of the events that happen in the film happened to him or his siblings, and none of them talked about it for years until he wrote the film and said, did this ever happen to you guys? So I didn't know that going into the audition or even the beginning of the film. It was while we were shooting, he would say, this really happened. Or actually, in the beginning, he said, there are things that happen in the script that are not made up. They really happened in this house. Try to guess as we go along, which was kind of a fun game. And it's terrifying. The house is really haunted. I'm as much of a skeptic as I am a believer. I'm like, you know what? There could be a reason for this. There were things that happened in that house that I can't explain. I know other people had experiences. My experiences were strange, and it was weird going into a shoot, being so uncomfortable on the set, because it wasn't a set. It was a real house.
Yep.
And it was strange and scary, and I would be fine never going back to that house again. Because it's so weird. It's like, I don't know how anyone lived there for more than like 3 nights.
Yep. Can I ask what kind of experiences happened while you were there in the house?
One experience is so strange that probably won't talk about it because people will think I'm crazy, and I don't want people to think I'm crazy. But I mean, because it's so bizarre, which is such a tease. But one of the things that happened, there was this room that the actors were using as their changing area, and it was upstairs, and there was like this. There's one of the rooms that we shoot in. It was just creepy to begin with, but there was this closet, and in between scenes, sometimes we would just sit up there because it was very quiet. You could go over lines, you could just sit and collect yourself. And the door was closed, and I was sitting up against the door with my back to the door. No one else was upstairs because they were shooting downstairs. They had moved everything downstairs. I'm sitting against the door, and I just hear dun, 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 and I could feel the door pushing into my back because of the force knocking on it. And I said, wait, hold on, I'm sitting at the door, I got clothes on, wait. And I opened the door, no one was there.
Yeah.
The door was being hit. You could hear something hitting the door, and you could feel the vibration. I felt the vibration like on my back. It was so strange. I got so freaked out. I ran out, and then I went, and I was like, who was upstairs? Who was upstairs? No one was upstairs.
Yeah. It's such a weird... Yeah, it's such a weird thing to go through. I've had 2 experiences in my life, and before the first time, I was a skeptic. I did not believe in anything like that. And the 2 incidents that happened in my life, it's like, if there hadn't have been somebody else there with me that experienced it as well, I would have thought that I was crazy, and there is no way I would have told anybody else what had happened because they would have thought I was crazy. But it's such a weird feeling because it's like, it does happen, but you feel like you can't tell anybody that it's happened.
Yeah. Oh, I can relate.
Yeah. So filming in the house, because it wasn't a set, did that actually help you with your role and your performance because you were in the actual house?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. The house is so strange from the moment you walk up the front, the front path or across the yard. It's a weird looking house. And then when you walk in, you feel, it's so strange and unsettling that I'm like, okay, this is all new. This is kind of freaky. This is going to help just the experience of shooting everything that we're shooting. It definitely helped because I never felt comfortable there. Yeah. And I think that was really beneficial to the experience of the character. She is always questioning, what is that? And like, no, I'm just seeing things. And you just naturally have that experience walking into that house. Before we started shooting, it didn't matter. Anytime I was just there, I'm going over there to like change, or I'm doing this or that. It was never comfortable. Yeah. And some, if you're in a set long enough, you get to know it really well. You're comfortable. You have your little space here and there. It never felt right.
Yep. Yeah.
And it never felt, I was never relaxed.
Yep. I know that feeling. I just before the pandemic, I actually went to do a piece on a haunted asylum that's here in Victoria, and I kind of went into it, even though I'd had previous experiences, very, very skeptical. But the moment I stepped into that house, into that building, you just felt that there was something not right. And the amount of things we experienced on that night in that asylum was just, left me with no doubt at all. But you get this feeling, and I felt cold the entire time I was there, even though it was a really warm night. It's such a strange feeling.
Yeah. Oh, there were definitely moments where people were like, did they put on the air conditioner? It's supposed to be turned off. And it was like, no. The air's not on. It's like, oh, it's really cold in this room. It's like, no, there's no air. It would just, that frigid feeling where you walk in and it's just frigid, and then you walk 2 steps away and it's fine.
Yep. Yeah. So, Gena, the film has done so well in film festivals, and you've picked up awards for it, so congratulations. But does Does that make you feel less nervous when a film is coming out to the general public and it's already done well on the festival circuit like that?
I mean, it definitely boosts the confidence with everything a little bit. I'm just excited that if audiences liked it at all the festivals, that I think people are going to like it in the theaters and on streaming. I think it will do well. So yeah, I'm confident with it.
And I have to ask, where did your love for horror come from? Because I know, like I said before, you are a huge horror fan. Where did that love of horror in cinema come from?
Good question. I've been trying to think of the first horror film that I saw, and I can't remember. But when I was little, I remember going into back in my day, we had video stores.
Yep.
And you'd go pick a movie, and then you take home the VHS and you put it in the machine. And I remember whenever my dad would take me to this video store, I would always just naturally gravitate towards the horror section because I loved the covers. And I don't know how, but somehow my dad was like, all right, fine, you can rent something. And I don't remember what that movie was, but ever since then, I always loved being scared. I loved monsters. I loved things that were kind of gory and all over I love sci-fi too.
Yeah.
Because I do consider them two different things. But and my parents were huge sci-fi fans. So my parents did introduce me to sci-fi films when I was 6. So I was always obsessed with aliens and monsters from outer space. And then maybe that just lent itself to my, curiosity for horror. And then I remember watching Tales from the Crypt on HBO. And that was the highlight of my week was when they had a new Crypt episode on. And I was just obsessed with the Crypt Keeper. And then I would sneak watch a lot of movies. You're too young for this, but I would always find a way to watch them. Or I would steal horror movies from my friends because their older brother or sister had it. So it started at a really young age. Yep. And it hasn't stopped.
Well, I'm glad it hasn't stopped because I think you have made one of the horror movies of the year with this film. It's definitely going to be one of the films that I show my friends when they come over on Halloween this year.
Oh, good. Do it.
Now, I know we are running out of time very quickly, so I'll just wrap up by saying, is there anything that you would like to say to all the horror fans out there who are about to experience this amazing film?
Let's see. If get ready to be scared because these things really happened. This house is real. Ghosts are real. I think this movie will show there's I'm trying to figure out what do I want to tell people. I want you to go get scared.
Definitely.
And then maybe and have a great Halloween.